everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for taking the time to check out today's video. I really appreciate it. This is Books My Heart and I'm Angela. As you very well know by now, I post videos every Friday. But today I'm doing a special edition video for Throwback Thursday. More than a year ago, I was just joining BookTube. I was about to finish my master's thesis project and I was getting ready to graduate. About 3 weeks before my master's thesis deadline, my laptop crashed. We are talking panic-stricken tears. I was beyond upset. Yes, I had backed up a lot of material, but I still needed my laptop to run certain programs, to edit certain things for my particular presentation. There was a lot I still needed on the device. So to say I was preoccupied was an understatement. I was not thinking about my old BookTube footage. About a week ago, I found footage from my first library tour, which has never been viewed. I had a vastly different living situation than I do now. I was in an extremely small studio apartment. There was a path between the door and my bed, and that was about it. It was such a small living space. If you go back to the videos from when I first started my channel, you can get a feel for how small my studio apartment truly was. It's also really fun to hear where I was at that particular moment in time, because I did not know where I was going to be doing my PhD studies, whereas now I do. I really enjoyed finding this footage because it's like an old diary entry. So now you get to see my Throwback Thursday library tour. Today I am giving you a tour of my bookshelf. I don't think you need a map, but please stay tuned. The top of my bookshelf tends to vary because I move things around quite a bit depending on what I'm looking for or what I'm reading. I tend to move things around on a regular basis, so this is just what it looks like today. A lot of the times, books that I want to read or will be reading next end up on the top shelf. I have several editions of Harry Potter, but I only have one edition in my current apartment. I left the other two back at my parents' house for safekeeping just in case something happened to them, or since I live in an apartment, if there was water damage or something from the person next door. If there was any type of damage, I didn't want anything to happen to my original copies. And it's really funny that I think about that versus jewelry or something, so you know what a true book lover I am. But this is just one edition. In this edition of Harry Potter, I tended to focus more on the rhetoric, more so than anything else, and so a lot of my notes tend to be more academic, or at least intellectual in nature. It's not necessarily my gut reaction to a particular line, but it is definitely more something of a keepsake for myself. I wouldn't lend this edition to anyone. Staples clearly made quite a bit of money while I was rereading the Harry Potter series because I had to keep buying more sticky notes and post-its and things of that nature. I also tend to keep my annotated Alice in Wonderland copy on the top of my bookshelf because this is one of my favorite editions of Alice in Wonderland. I bought this special last year when I was doing a semester-long project on the rhetoric involved, and I absolutely love this edition because it shows you all of the academic notes. I think Gardner did a phenomenal job. I love this book. If you're a fan of Alice in Wonderland like I am, then I highly recommend you purchase this and read it slowly and take it in and enjoy all of the notes and learn about the writing and the rhetoric and everything else. I also have a Juicy Couture perfume right there that was a gift from my mother. I just keep it there because I really think the bottle is beautiful. I hardly ever use it because I just think it's so pretty to look at. I just end up leaving it there as decoration. And I think the bottle is just adorable, and so I tend to use it as decoration. I think the pink bright color is really nice and kind of adds a little bit of something because my apartment tends to be more neutral toned. For those of you who are new to my channel, I absolutely love studying satires. I have done extensive research on Last Week Tonight and I absolutely adore this particular show. I think it's humorous and informative and there's a lot of really important subject matters being discussed. I just leave it in the packaging because I really like the box and it even shows you his name because I'm pretty sure not too many other people would have known looking at it exactly that was John Oliver, even though the glasses pretty much give it away. And these are some of my next to be read books. I loved My Life Next Door, and so I'm really looking forward to this Huntley Fitzpatrick book. I've actually been procrastinating on reading it because I enjoyed the other one so much. I know I'm going to need one sitting for this book. The second shelf, working our way down. As you can see, I still love Alice in Wonderland, and there's another edition right behind my Belle figurine. Unlike the John Oliver figurine, I took Belle out of her packaging because I really like being able to just kind of put her places in my apartment. And so she'll end up on the top shelf, she'll end up on the bottom shelf, she'll end up in the middle, because again, as I mentioned before, I move things around. And so it's really fun to kind of play Where's Belle Now in a way. Belle is one of my favorite Disney princesses, and so I love having this figurine around. It's just super cute, and I get to move it around and pretend like I'm a little kid again. This is a more recent addition to my library, the Ruby Red series. I've heard nothing but good things about it. A lot of people on BookTube were giving it rave reviews. I wanted to be included in the conversation, so I plan on reading these books in the next week or so. I'm really looking forward to it because everyone says it's such a wonderful series. I'm really looking forward to it. Similar to The Boy Most Likely To by Huntley Fitzpatrick, I know I'm going to want to read these books in just a short amount of time, and so I need to make sure that I have that time dedicated to just reading. And along the rest of the shelf, you can see some of my lovely YA reads. I actually have another row of books behind these books, and so I kind of doubled up on the space. So each row has 2 rows because I live in a studio and there's not really another place to put another set of books. Behind my lovely YA reads, we have a set of academic books that I tend to use as references when I'm writing papers. And so since those covers are not as beautiful as these, I tend to keep them in the back. I enjoy looking at the YA book spines much more than my academic texts, especially because these have these wonderful fonts and designs, and they all remind me of the wonderful reading experiences that I've had, and so my academic books tend to just be on the second row. The hidden rows tend to be my academic books that I don't necessarily need to see on a regular basis because I've already read them and memorized them and used them quite a bit, and so I tend to just keep them in the back. I like to keep some of the books on their sides just to mix up the bookshelf a little bit. I think it makes it look a little bit more visually appealing so that not everything is just standing upright. And since I have so many different sizes and authors and different genres and things like that, it just kind of mixes it up a little bit, and so I really appreciate that. I do not organize my bookshelf based on genres or sizes, but I do try and make them match height-wise so that they at least look somewhat comparable and there's nothing really just sticking out. And so by putting some of them on their side, especially if they're smaller, I think it just makes things look a little bit nicer. You can certainly disagree with me and like everything upright, but it just makes things a little nicer and neater in my opinion, especially because I like things to just mix up a little bit, such as like with my Alice in Wonderland book cover. I think it just adds a little something extra. And so you can see some of my additional YA reads, adult reads, and just various books in between. I did send quite a few books to my parents' house because there was a very good chance that I was going to be moving to Scotland and I wanted to make sure that my books were nice and safe, and so I sent quite a few of my books to them. But turns out I'm not moving to Scotland, so I do want those books back. So my bookshelves are actually a little scarce right now. This is a fun fact about me. I have done a lot of studying in regards to creative writing and screenwriting, and so I've done several Writer's Digest classes, and my favorite teacher is Terry Valentine, and so I bought quite a few of her books because I was her student and I wanted to know what her own writing style was and what stories she produced, so I bought quite a few of her books. It's not as if I have a roommate or someone who is going to judge me, but I do keep them in the back just because I don't really want to be looking at some woman's torso or something. I don't really need to be looking at a romance cover every day of my life. I just don't. So I do keep these in the back. I was really happy that I was able to find some of her books because they were published probably 20-something years ago, and so I really wanted to just know what my teacher was writing. If I pull my books aside, you can kind of see a little bit of a mixture. So you can see some of my hidden gems back here. Those are books that I've already read and kind of put aside. And so you can see how I just kind of try and maximize the space and get the most out of it. I tend to keep books that I've already read or plan on reading really soon on the top shelf. These are books that I keep putting aside more so than anything else. I have read quite a few of them though. As I'm pointing the camera, I just noticed how there are little sticky notes popping up from Let It Snow. For some reason, I just noticed that, and now it's kind of bothering me, so I'm going to end up moving this as I'm filming. Now, let's put Let It Snow over here, because otherwise that is going to bother me, because then that would be the only one with those sticky notes. That probably sounded a little too type A, but it's my bookshelf, so I can do what I want. Anyway, I'm a huge Meg Cabot fan. Back at my parents' house, I have pretty much all of her books, her Airhead series, the Mediator series, pretty much everything she's ever written is back at my parents' house. On one hand, I'm really upset that this book does not match the rest of the Mediator series, but on the other hand, I'm so happy that it does not because it matches the rest of my bookshelf here. And so the fact that those books are back at my parents' house and this particular edition is here does not bother me, because if this matched, it would have just reminded me that I was missing out on the others. So in a weird way, it kind of makes me happy and less nostalgic. Everything from about here over has recently been read, and so you will see new BookTube videos on those very soon. As I mentioned before, I've been having a lot of trouble with my back, and so last weekend I actually read all 4 of these. I'm sure everybody wants to know that I do have the Crest, Cinder, Scarlet series hidden behind there, so yes, those will be read rather soon. The only reason I haven't is because I've had so many problems with my back recently that I want to be able to enjoy my reading experience and take the time to really cherish the books and enjoy the story, and so I thought that if I was in pain I wouldn't necessarily have the same reading experience, and so I'm hoping to feel better very soon and then put those on my to be read list. The second to last bookshelf. As I mentioned before, I thought I was moving to another country, and so I sent a lot of books back to my parents' house. These shelves used to be a lot more full. In trying to maximize space, I also had DVDs as my second row because I didn't have anywhere else to put them, and I tend to watch Netflix, so it's not as if I have something dedicated to shelving DVDs or CDs or anything like that. I tend to be more minimalistic when it comes to things like that. I love Wes Anderson, and so my mother got me The Fantastic Mr. Fox when I was home for Christmas. She gave that to me. I also love Midnight in Paris. That's one of my favorite films. I've seen this movie probably 30 times. I absolutely love it. I did a project on the vampire phenomenon, and so people started giving me vampire DVDs and more vampire books. My project discussed how the myth of vampires were created and how the film industry is currently portraying them and a lot of the adaptations that are currently being done, and so this was one of the gifts that I was given while I was doing that project. I'm a huge romantic comedy person. I love The 10 Things I Hate About You. I love romantic comedies. I know that's probably cheesy and girly, but I love them. The 10th Kingdom miniseries, this was a gift. Everything about this story is just really cute and well done, and so if you haven't seen The 10th Kingdom yet, I think you'd enjoy it. You can probably buy it online super cheap. It came out probably 20 years ago or something, and so if you haven't seen it, you should. I probably should never admit how many times I've seen this movie. I love it. I think Jim Carrey is phenomenal in it. I just think this is a great movie. And then there's Recount. I have seen this movie close to probably 50 times now at least. I did my master's thesis using this film as my case study, and so if you want to see any of my videos on this, please go to my other channel. I will link it down below, but this video is very close to my heart. I've spent a lot of time with it, and so if you haven't seen it and you're interested in the 2000 election, or you're a fan of Kevin Spacey, please go watch it. The last shelf is all academic. You can tell based on the post-it notes and the sticky notes that I've annotated them, I've written in them, I've read them, and so these are all of my academic books that I regularly reference. And so these ones need to be at hand so that I can just grab them whenever I'm writing a paper or doing research, and so these are a lot of the books that I tend to reference on a regular basis. I will just mention and reinforce the fact that these are the books with me at my current residency. I own hundreds upon hundreds of other books at my parents' house. I have 4 bookshelves that are this size, maybe even larger at their home, and I also have 2 smaller ones, and so I have hundreds upon hundreds of other books that are not shown in this particular video, and I just want to reinforce the fact that I've read and I own quite a few more. These are just the ones that currently live with me. I love them and I appreciate them, but they're only a small fraction of the books that I truly own. This concludes my bookshelf tour. I hope you liked it. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and as always, have a great reading day. For those of you who were awesome enough to stay around and watch today's video, I will give you a heads up. I'm going to be doing a giveaway on my Instagram page, so be sure to follow me over there as well to get all those details when I post them. If your libraries have changed over the years, make sure you tell me about it down below in the comment section. I'd love to know how your libraries have evolved over the years as well. Thank you again for watching today's video, and as always, have a great reading day.